Councillors, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Worshipful Mayor, Councillor Moira Greatrex.
Thank you, everybody. Please be seated. Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the extraordinary council meeting of Tamworth Borough Council. I'd like to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on YouTube. Can members please be mindful that some issues may be contentious and to be respectful of the matters that are under debate tonight. Item number 1 is apologies for absence. Are there any apologies?
Apologies from Councillor Marie Bailey and Councillor Jeremy Oates, who are both unwell.
Item 2. Oh, sorry. Didn't see you, Danny, sorry.
Apologies from Councillor Dennis Box. Unfortunately, he's also a little bit unwell.
Yeah. We also have an apology from Councillor Richard Kingston tonight. Second item, are there any declarations of interest? If you have any, please raise your hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it would come as no surprise to anybody in this chamber if I don't declare an interest on item 4, which is the debate about our current MP. I'd like to remove myself from the room and take no part in the debate, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Announcements. I, as Mayor, don't have any announcements. Our leader is not here tonight. We have a deputy leader. Do you have any announcements? No. No. Does any member of the Cabinet have any announcements? No. Thank you. We come on to item 4 now. This is where Councillor Cook will leave the room. Thank you. Thank you. Item 4, to consider the following motion, notice of which has been duly given in accordance with procedure rule number 4.12.1 by following councillors, Councillor Cook, Claymore, Price, Thurgood and Wade. Would any of the councillors like to read the motion? Thank you, Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm also would like to introduce it as well, if that's okay with yourself. So it says, we feel that given the current absence/situation our local MP is currently in, that we should discuss as a council the knock-on effects to the council and the wider town when Tamworth Borough Council seeks funding for large projects, policies from central pots, for example, LUF or FHSF, that we seek the support and guidance of the locally elected MP. Given the MP was unavailable over the summer after his misadventures of the Carlton Club, followed by his resignation from the Whip's office and suspension from the Conservative Party, we feel it is difficult for the Council and other organisations in Tamworth to use him as a conduit as government as previously done. His actions brought Tamworth into the national media spotlight in a way that hurt us reputationally, at a time when the council has worked so hard to improve our reputation and image. His absence during the fight for local mental health services was a clear example. We feel that the council needs to debate how in the short term it approaches government, as clearly our MP is not able to at present.
Do I have a seconder for that proposal?
Madam Mayor, to actually read an introduction to the motion. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for agreeing to host this evening. I know members will have heard that the motion before us this evening, and whilst it's 2 long paragraphs, it does get to the point of what is needed tonight. It is, we feel the council needs to debate how in the short term it approaches government, as clearly our MP is not able to assist at present. Yes, Tamworth as a place needs to debate this situation of our elected MP, and many on the Conservative benches may argue, rightly or wrongly, that it is not Tamworth Borough Council's place to decide the future or elected status of the MP. That being said, the events of the summer and the way our town's reputation was so negatively dented needs to be debated, and the undersigned of the motion feel that unfortunately at present no other body is locally placed to hear this debate and hear the voices of our residents on this matter. Yet the motion before us calls for a debate. Therefore, debates can be heard, can lead to motions. Otherwise, what's the point of debates if we do not seek action from them? Therefore, rules 4.2.28 consider motions and 4.2.29 consider any other business specified in the summons to the meetings. With those constitutional matters in mind, I wish to move to the point of the motion to allow this agenda item to progress at the end of my introduction, and we'll be hoping for a seconder at this point. Rule 4.12.3 states scope. Motions must be about the matters for which the council has a responsibility or which affect Tamworth. Any member here tonight who does not think that this affects Tamworth and we have not been affected by the situation over the summer, which ultimately brought down a government, is either living in cloud cookie land or livingly gives the Conservative Party £25 a year to sit behind the wall of silence, which we've seen from the controlling group to date. Even Mr Impinch himself has remained silent on the allegations made against him, and has only since this debate has been called reappeared at a small number of events in person, including Remembrance Sunday or on social media. Madam Mayor, as per the wording of the motion and from our group as set out in the agenda, I feel that Tamworth having a voice at a national political level is essential. It is certainly as essential as the time that across all of our budgets, leading to the release of the base budget shortly, I'm led to believe that we're in the region of approximately a £28 million shortfall across revenue and capital, which will no doubt fundamentally affect our ability as a council to deliver our priorities, to support the most vulnerable, who we stated at the last meeting we had in October was our absolute priority, and C, to help those who will become increasingly in need through the cost of living crisis. Putting aside just for one moment Mr Pinch's alleged issues, let's look at his performance since the allegations came to light. I've researched the official 3 areas of recorded parliamentary contribution, the only way the public can. Written questions, spoken contributions in the House, and the number of times he has passed through the voting lobbies. And I thought I'd compare it to a few other members of Parliament. So I've picked Michael Fabricant and Craig Tracy as local MPs, Andrew Bridgen, also known as a bit of a Conservative rebel, so likely to hold the government to account, and an opposition member, Jess Phillips, the Labour MP for Yardley. I find Jess Phillips has written 33 questions as an opposition member, compared to none from Andrew Bridgen, 6 from Craig Tracy, 16 from Michael Fabricant, and 57 from Chris Pincher, which was amazing, as his last one before this scandal broke was the 4th of July 2016. Yes, I'll repeat that, the 4th of July 2016. If ever then we needed clarity that he was out of favour politically, it says a lot that you have to resort to written questions to get an answer when you used to just pick up the phone to your friends and colleagues. It begs the question why, when fighting for his political life, 61% of his career questions have been submitted since September. Let's turn to speaking and voting. Jess Phillips spoke 22 times to 43, Andrew Bridgen 14 to 70, Craig Tracy spoke 8 times and voted in 66. Michael Fabricant spoke in 25 speeches and voted 66 times. Those votes and speeches covered issues such as the Levelling Up Fund, which this council has an active interest, Ukraine, which some members have done more than others, but we've done an awful lot to support as a council, national security, I think we've all got an interest in that, haven't we? COP27, which has declared a climate emergency, as this council has, and is working towards net zero. We're obviously concerned about costs of doing that. Rail strikes and anyone that kind of commutes, and also the services of our principal train provider, Advanti West Coast. Plus tax rises and energy bills, all of which affect most residents in this town. I'm sure most of us have spoken to constituents who are hovering on the edge of not being able to heat their homes. And how many times has our MP spoken or voted on any of these essential debates? None. Zero, zilch, nil. We need to consider how we engage with government at this time. We need to ensure we have a voice in government. We require an MP who is able to represent us, whatever their political allegiance. And most importantly, the residents and businesses of Tamworth at this time require someone to speak for them. Not just on Facebook, but actually physically do their job. This agenda item calls in the short term how this council, and indeed residents and businesses and voluntary groups, approach government, as clearly our MP is not able to assist. For me, there is only one short, medium and long-term solution: a new MP. Therefore, using rule 4.2.28, I put the following motion to council and seek a seconder in a second. I move the following: that Tamworth Borough Council sends a message to the currently elected MP for this constituency by way of a vote this evening, that he resign with immediate effect as the MP to allow Tamworth and those who need support via the role of a Member of Parliament to be allowed to elect better representation. And secondly, that this council writes to his constituency office to ask him to do the right thing and resign his seat. This format to be agreed between the Mayor and the three political leaders on this council or their nominated deputies. Madam Mayor, I hope for a seconder and look forward to the debate this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. That motion is substantially different from the original motion. So I'm going to go back to the original motion and ask for a seconder. Do I have a seconder for the original motion? Thank you, Councillor Price.
Councillor Pritchard indicated he wanted to speak.
You want to speak? Carry on.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Under Rule 414.6, can I move we amend the motion? While acknowledging the motion presented to the Council, this Council communicates with the Government as it sees appropriate for each item or issue before it. I hope for a seconder.
Thank you.
Put that to the vote to consider.
Okay. Right, I'm asking for a vote now to allow the amendment to the original motion. All in favour of the amendment? All those against?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 against.
Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? I think there's 6. 6.
1, 2, 3, 4.
5. There's Councillor. I didn't see Councillor Wade.
Yeah.
And then there's
4. I think it's 5.
1, 2, 3, 4. No, there's 6. There is 6.
6.
Can you see
7.
6?
7.
There are 6.
7. Jan's just put it.
Right. Okie dokie.
Abstention.
Are there any abstentions? None. Okay.
So the amendment.
Yes, the amendment is carried.
Debate. Questions.
We're going to go to questions now. Does anybody wish to start off with a question? Councillor Cook.
Thank you. Councillor Pritchard, would you like to kind of give us some examples of what type of thing that you would like to, how you would propose dealing on individual matters? Because I'm assuming in that case you think that the MP is kind of fit for purpose.
Councillor Pritchard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That would be for the Council to decide as appropriate for each item.
Thank you. Councillor.
Thanks. I know it's a little bit late considering the horse has bolted, but the fact that the motion and the seconder, don't we usually normally debate the motion and speak on them, ask questions, or is this part of, this is questions then into debate, is that correct? Because it's already been voted on.
Just so, if you indulge me, thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of the vote earlier was to put the amended motion to Council. That it now becomes a substantive motion. We're now in question time for that. We will then move to debate once questions have been asked. We will then move to the vote on the substantive amendment. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr Barrett.
Thank you for clarifying that. Yes, Councillor People.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. As a point of order and for the benefit of those present and those members of the public present and those listening at home, could we have the motion, please, as amended, so that everybody's clear what we're discussing? Thank you.
Councillor Pritchard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the motion is, while acknowledging the motion presented to this council, that this council communicates with the government as it sees appropriate for each item or issue before it.
Thank you. So, are there any more questions before we move to debate? No? No. Who would like to start the debate? Councillor People. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Somebody's got to start. We've had representations from many members of the public, many residents of Tamworth who've expressed great concern about the situation that we currently find ourselves in. For whatever reason, we have an MP who is substantially absent, and that does not serve the town in any way, shape or form. Mr Pincher has said that he's suffering from mental health issues, and I have great sympathy for anybody suffering from mental health issues, but it doesn't change the fact that, as Councillor Cook has pointed out, we currently don't have representation. And I think that is something that is presents a great deal of concern to all of us on the council and also to all the residents within the borough. And it's something that I think we need to be mindful of and we need to have a proper discussion on and a way forward. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Councillor Claymore.
Councillor Claymore.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, and somebody has to go second as well, so it's me. I can only agree with the comments earlier from Councillor Michelle Cook. I have great concerns regards our town's future unless there is a new MP for Tamworth. My biggest concern revolves around the future of health provision in Tamworth, certainly around mental health. As current chairman of the Health and Wellbeing Committee, I've been at the forefront of local fight to save George Bryan Centre. That is not to say others have not been in this fight too. Through health and wellbeing scrutiny, we have looked hard at the historic provision and the current needs for this essential service in Tamworth. Yet those who make the decisions on this service seem determined to cease the service in Tamworth instead of replacing it with services in Stafford and enhanced local voluntary support. If ever there was a period where a dedicated MP was needed, not just to be banging the drum, but actually throwing it, it was over the last few months. This did not materialise. Following Mr Pincher's last video on the matter, on the afternoon the news broke about the scandal, very little action took place from him or his office. A junior member of his staff did attend the meeting, but we all know that's not the same as a respected, experienced MP holding people to account. Madam Mayor, many residents in Tamworth and its surrounding neighbours will suffer due to the decision, and for those without access to proper support, it is not unreasonable to suggest that some will unfortunately die. At present, Tamworth's voice is not effective. It is time for a new MP, someone who is hungry for their job and prepared to put their heart and soul into helping our town become a better place. Madam Mayor, I was a member of the Conservative group at the time Mr Pincher acknowledged that he had behaved poorly. And I had my thoughts, I had my opinions, but I wanted to understand exactly what had happened. I still do not know, after all that has transpired and all the incidents we have heard about via media and colleagues, all I find is the continuing wall of silence. This wall of silence was one of the key reasons I could no longer be a Conservative councillor. The public deserve our voice. The public deserve to know we understood their anger. And as a Conservative councillor and loyal party member, I watched a systematic, brutal period of bullying councillors into understanding that silence was their only option if they wanted to remain a member of that group. It is time for the silence to end. It is time to allow Tamworth to move forward again and to grasp the many opportunities that lie ahead. This includes rebuilding our reputation as a town. I noticed that the Christopher Pincher protest was on the BBC News tonight, so it is still getting national coverage. This cannot be done until the current MP, therefore, under the current MP. Therefore, I support the motion moved earlier and look forward to voting on this later this evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Does anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Peter Thurgood.
This is difficult for me this evening. Like most fathers, I don't always, and indeed it's probably rarely, do I agree with my daughter. However, I believe tonight she's hit the nail squarely on the head and hammered home what most of the town already think about Mr. Pincher. Madam Mayor, I too was a member of the Conservative Party at the time that the scandal broke out in June. I trusted our local leadership to guide us both through the storm and with their moral compass. Madam Mayor, they have failed us on both counts. I openly admit I voted for the MP in December 2019. I did so believing him to be the best option to represent Tamworth at a national level based on his previous history. However, or rather therefore, as more and more information came to light over the summer, I was absolutely flabbergasted to discover this was not Mr. Pincher's first acknowledged indiscretion. Yes, I will acknowledge there are a lot of accusations still unresolved, possibly hyped by the media in their desire to remove the then Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. However, the incident in 2019, like following the incidents in June this year, Mr. Pincher accepted he had done wrong. What galled me is myself and many local Conservative members supported Mr. Pincher in 2019, completely unaware of this fact, as it had been hidden from us and the public alike. And now Mr. Pincher seems to be working again, but is writing to the local Conservative councillors, but the Independent and the Labour members are finding out through copied letters days later. And I think this sort of shows to me he's trying to work his way back into the Conservative Party. And that does disturb me. Therefore, I can no longer support Mr. Pincher to be our MP. Some people have contacted us as to why we have waited until now to call for this debate. The answer is we left the Conservative group in mid-August, and for anyone who asked, we were happy to comment about our views on this matter. By the time we called for this debate in mid-October, we were hopeful that the two national bodies who should have dealt with this, basically Parliament and the Conservative Party, would have by that point finished their reviews. This to date has not happened. And we fundamentally believe that Tamworth deserved a conclusion to this sorry situation. It's strange, you know, if you look on Wikipedia for Chris Pincher, there's Chris Pincher, the MP, and there's another article there, or a reference to Chris Pincher scandal. What does that say for our town, that an elected MP has that sort of, history on Wikipedia? However, I do wish Mr. Pincher well to find all the help he needs to resolve his personal issues. He has cited in his journey to tackle his demons. However, it is time for Tamworth to get the healing it also requires. That healing requires a fresh start and new blood. I hope when the time comes for a reselection that the Tamworth Conservative Association remember what's happened and actually deny him the opportunity to come back, because it will damage the Conservative Party. It's a bit like, I think my daughter quoted it once when she was in work once, it's a bit like turkeys waiting for Christmas. We as a council require a trusted conduit to the government, as Councillor Cook has already said, and we currently fail on this front. Madam Mayor, I spent many years in the automotive industry, and I can tell you that if petrol doesn't reach the engine, the car does not go. Therefore, Madam Mayor, I too support the motion before us this evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, we don't.
Thank you, Mayor. On the 30th of June this year, our MP, Christopher Pincher, issued a statement in which he resigned as a Deputy Chief Whip. We all know the reasons he gave in doing so and the indefensible behaviour cited. This has brought Tamworth in the media spotlight for all the wrong reasons. This is not the first allegation against Christopher Pincher with regards to sexual impropriety. At this time, myself and others were also members of the Conservative Party. We were told not to comment and to remain silent and toe the party line. So I have sympathy for the Conservative councillors in that they have probably been told not to vote for this motion, let alone bring themselves to bring this motion. I imagine the orders of toe the party line are still in place. Unfortunately, that leaves Tamworth residents in a tough and unnecessary position. This is not something that can or should be ignored and swept under the carpet. I would hope that all members sat here tonight agree that the conduct is unacceptable. Everyone here has loved ones, so I want you to imagine for a second that this complaint had come from them, that your sons and your daughters, nieces and nephews or grandchildren had put this forward allegation that would change your stance. Not voting for this motion gives a message that is acceptable conduct. Can anybody here wholeheartedly refer any of your residents, particularly if that resident is a vulnerable young man, to Mr Pincher with these allegations? So I say this to Conservative councillors, to all councillors here: put party politics aside, show solidarity to all the victims of sexual assault and misconduct, show that this behaviour is unacceptable and won't be tolerated. People have voted for us that we can support them. Let's actually do that here tonight and support them as well. It's time for the Conservative councillors to actually stop supporting him and ask him to go. Thank you.
Councillor Price.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For me, this motion isn't political. It's not about the allegations that have been made against Mr Pincher. This motion that we originally brought, which has been amended, was about it was about, are we being represented by our MP? Are the people that elected that MP being represented fairly? And at the time that we're looking at, which is from when these allegations broke until now, we don't feel as a group that we have been represented by Chris. It's quite well known that he went missing for his reasons, struggling with mental health, and many people struggle with mental health, myself included, and I really hope that Chris gets the help and support that he needs. But that doesn't change the fact that that Chris is there to represent the people of Tamworth, and that's something that we feel that he's failed to do recently. What I would like to say, Madam Mayor, is that we would like to support the motion as it has been put by Councillor Pritchard, but under Rule 4.2.28, add that Mr Pincher is no longer the trusted conduit with which the Council conducts our communications with the Government. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Second that motion. Reserve the right, Madam Mayor.
Does anybody else wish to speak? No. Oh,
Can't consider any other motions until this motion has been discussed.
okay.
I would just like to say thank you to all those who have spoken this evening. It might have been easy, particularly about a party and a group, thank you, that you were a part of. And I just want to echo the comments made by Councillor Price. This is not political. This is about saying about the people of Tamworth and the representation that they deserve. And it was noted, the comment on social media. I know that all of us represent people in our wards who do not use social media. It's not part of their lives to do with their age or experiences. Personally, I speak about my parents and my elderly relatives. They were disgusted to know that our current MP, Christopher Pincher, wrote on Facebook, when we all know people who have gone to the office, called, emailed, written letters, and nothing has come back to them. Madam Mayor, you know that if most of us tried to do our jobs, half of them, we wouldn't no longer be in that position. And on behalf of the people of Tamworth, we know that we all deserve better, someone who'll work for them 100%.
Thank you. Councillor Cook.
Thanks. Madam Mayor, can I speak on the proposed motion rather than using my right to sum up at the end, if that's okay? Is that all right? Because you're allowed to speak on the motion, aren't you?
We can't consider any other... Consider any motion, other motion, until this one's been resolved.
So it was an amendment that what Councillor Ben Price has just moved and seconded by Councillor Claymore was an acceptance of the motion moved by Councillor Pritchard with the amendment. So that's why.
Thank you. Just for members' information, we have to consider the amended motion first, which is a debate at the moment. That will finish. Members will then vote on the amended motion. Should that get passed through, that then becomes a substantive motion, which members will then go through and propose any alternative amendments to that. It seems a bit convoluted, but we have to, it's one amendment at a time, which is discussed, debated, and then approved or not. Time for any further amendments will come once members have taken the vote on this amendment, which, should it be passed, will become the substantive amendment for discussion. Thank you.
Okay. Would you like to sum up before we take the vote?
Well, I suppose I'll wait and I will speak on the amended motion, if that's okay.
Well, if nobody else wants to speak, did you want to speak? No? Okay. We will take the vote on the amended motion. All in favour?
That's everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's everybody.
Okay. So that's unanimous.
So we now go to questions on. We start the process again.
On what?
On the
Do we have any amendments on the new motion? No. Okay, thank you. We go to the vote now on the motion as put by Councillor Pritchard. All in favour? What are they saying? No. No. We haven't.
Right.
It's very complicated.
Yeah. What we have, or the stage we're at now, we had the original motion proposed by Councillor Cook. Yeah. That was then amended by Councillor Pritchard. That has been questioned and debated, and that has been passed unanimously as the substantive motion. So the original motion on the agendas for has been replaced with Councillor Pritchard's amendment. The Mayor asked if there were any amendments to that motion for members, and there wasn't any.
I'm probably sounding very, very, very stupid, but there's an amendment to that which was put by Councillor,
No.
which is that different? Is that an amendment to say that 28 or whatever it is, that to add to the amendment that Councillor Pritchard had put forward as an additional, as an amended motion to my original one, that would then be amended again to say that we didn't think that Chris was the right or the MP was not the right conduit to continue to carry out that engagement with government, and that's what Councillor Ben Price read at the end of his speech and was seconded by Councillor Claymore.
We now look on the substantive motion, so they now want to discuss and debate.
Yeah.
So it's now on their amendment, so you discuss and debate any questions, and then you vote it through, so you're back to the starting position.
Yeah. We're actually back to where we started, but with the amended motion. So the time now to put any further amendments to it was really when the Mayor asked if there were any amendments to that. You cannot have two amendments live at the same time. So you always have to make sure you've debated and voted on each amendment in turn. So you can't have two. So I mean, with the Mayor's indulgence, it would probably make sense to, if there are any amendments, to put that into the mix. But that would be your choice, Madam Mayor.
I will listen to your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the amendment that we would like to make to the amendment is that we accept that amendment as it's been put by Councillor Pritchard, but with the additional wording that Mr Pincher is no longer trusted as that conduit of which the council communicates with government.
Councillor Claymore?
Motion reserved the right.
Yeah.
And just for clarity, just to interject, what we will now do, we will take a vote on if members wish that amendment to be heard.
Okay. All in favour of this motion being heard? All in favour? Is it 8? 7. 8. Yes. All those against?
So that amendment is defeated.
That amendment is defeated.
So we'll now go back to vote on the substantive motion, which is Councillor Pritchard's.
Right, I thought we'd done that.
No, we've just got it to the stage of it being the motion.
Right, we come to another vote on the motion the amendment put by Councillor Pritchard, which is now the substantive motion. All in favour?
Sorry, point of order. Can we ask in that case for it to be a named vote? Thank you.
Do the honours? Councillor Rosie Claymore. Councillor Tina Clements. Councillor Michelle Cook. Councillor Chris Cook. Councillor Andrew Cooper. Councillor Sarah Daniels. Councillor Stephen Doyle. Councillor Alex Farrell. Councillor Richard Ford. Councillor Simon Goodall. Councillor Moira Greatrex.
4.
Councillor John Harper.
4.
Councillor Thomas Jay.
4.
Councillor Jason Jones.
4.
Councillor Daniel Maycock.
4.
Councillor Cherie People. Councillor Ben Price. Councillor Robert Pritchard.
4.
Councillor Roy Rogers. Councillor Samuel Smith.
4.
Councillor Martin Summers. Councillor Paul Turner.
4.
Councillor Peter Thurgood. Councillor John Wade. Councillor Jan Wadrup. Thank you.
That motion is carried. We now come to item 5 on the agenda.
Yet again. Can I just use rule 4.14.12 as a point of order? At the last meeting, State of the Borough debate, one cabinet member decided to swear, and tonight, when I just made my comment, another cabinet member, Councillor Clements, just told me to shut up. Is that appropriate behaviour in this chamber for members to tell each other to be quiet, or words to that effect? And if so, can I please ask for an apology? I'm sure she didn't mean it, but I think it's really important that members can speak freely without being insulted while going about their business. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. Councillor Clements, would you just like to offer an apology?
I'm very sorry, Madam Mayor.
Are you happy with that?
As much as one can be, thank you.
Yeah, we come on to item number 5 on the agenda, to consider the following motion, notice of which has been duly given in accordance with Procedure Rule 4.12.1, Part 4, by Councillors Cooper, Ford, Farrell, Harper, Turner, Goodall and Greatorex. Councillor Daniel Maycock, would you like to start off?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just like to move the motion as in the agenda, please. Thank you.
Councillor Cooper, thank you.
Yes, sir, I'd like to second and reserve the right.
Thank you. Are we going? Yeah. Okay, so we go to question and debate. Right, has anybody got any questions? Councillor Cook?
Must be that hole in the budget. Sorry, Madam Mayor, can I just ask who am I directing the questions to? Who's leading on the motion? Who am I directing the questions to, Madam Mayor? I'm wondering who's leading on the motion.
Councillor Maycock.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I ask Councillor Maycock in that sense, what is the purpose of this motion? What is the problem with the current chairmanship? Thank you.
Councillor Maycock?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of meetings ago, we said that the current chairs were doing good, but that doesn't mean another chair can't do better. Thank you.
Councillor Cook?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Absolutely agree. Sometimes new blood and new chairman can do better. When you identify a problem with the previous chair, I'm asking again, what is the problem with the, well, I'm assuming at the minute, the current chairman of Wealth and Wellbeing, what is the problem? This motion is purely political, as we all know, so I'm just asking, what is the problem?
You? Councillor Maycock?
I haven't got a personal problem with the current chair.
Thank you. Can I also ask a question to Councillor Maycock? Councillor Maycock, your notice or your motion says that you were appointed as Chair of Health and Wellbeing Scrutiny Committee. Well, as you're not asking for the current chair to be removed, are you intending of putting a second special responsibility allowance and having 2 chairs?
Councillor Maycock?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely, Councillor Maycock. The motion that's actually before us this evening actually says that you are appointed as the Chair of the Health and Wellbeing Scrutiny Committee. Are you planning on introducing a second special responsibility allowance? Because you haven't actually called for the removal of the previous chair. You're asking for you to be appointed Chair of Health and Wellbeing. So is the controlling group looking at putting in a second special responsibility allowance to cover 2 chairs? Because you're not asking for one to be removed. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
I think as a point of order on that, if I may, from both our legal advisor and the monitoring officer, is that within this motion and the next motion to appoint certain councillors as chairman of committees, it is implicit that this is to replace the current chairman. If the motion is defeated, then the current chairman remains in post. This is in effect an alternate nominee to the post, but not taken at the time the original chairman was appointed. I hope that clarifies the matter. Thank you.
Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A question for the Chief Executive. It's not implicit because it doesn't say it. It's open to interpretation.
Thank you. Mr Barrett.
I can only repeat the monitoring officer and legal officer's advice on the matter.
Councillor Cook. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to state for the record, we're taking our own legal advice because our legal advice is actually different with the monitoring officer. We will be taking it up through the Ombudsman if this continues.
Well, our legal advice is obviously going to be different to yours, and we have to make a decision tonight.
You do have the right judgment.
Councillor Cook.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. Question for Councillor Maycock. Sorry, Dan, you did move the motion, mate. Reading the Constitution, Madam Mayor, there is a simple instrument to change a chairman. It is Rule 8.4, where 5 members write to the Chief Executive asking at the next meeting of the said committee that the chairman be replaced with a new chairman. It is a simple instrument within the Constitution. However, this is the second time the controlling group has fetched this to full council. Other than wanting to humiliate the current chairs, I can't understand. I'm just going to ask Councillor Maycock, why is the instrument set out in the Constitution that could have used at any point between 8th of August when we walked and now not being used, and we feel the need to bring this to full council to humiliate 2 outstanding councillors?
Councillor Maycock, do you wish to answer that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't wish to humiliate anybody. Thank you.
Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And the other part of my question, why is Rule 8.4 not being used? Why do we keep going to the second instrument when the first instrument hasn't been used?
Is that a question for Councillor Maycock?
As the Mayor said and yourself said, you've both sought legal advice and we've both sought legal advice.
Thank you. Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Same question. Why is the instrument in the Constitution not being used that is designed specifically to do it?
Well, Councillor Maycock, do you feel you've already answered that? I've already answered that, Madam Mayor. Right. I am going to leave that there. I'm going to ask if there's any more questions. Okie dokie, we go to debate. Who would like to start? Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, my laptop's just playing a quick game on me. Sorry, my apologies. As I stated in some of my questions, Madam Mayor, it's not my wish to question the Chief Executive. I think the Chief Executive is fundamentally aware I carry a great deal of respect for the Chief Executive. We differ on this account, and I hope we can continue to work in these solid and professional relations. We always have done, but we do differ in this matter. There is enough case law out there, Madam Mayor, that actually demonstrates this motion does not carry the weight. A constitution, by its legal definition, becomes a contract. It is a contract from this council to councillors on behaviour and responsibilities. It is also a contract from this council to officers on their roles and responsibilities. Therefore, it becomes a legal document. We have found quite a lot of case law out there that shows once it becomes a legal document, it is open to its own interpretation. There is no clear motion within what has been moved tonight that says the previous chairman is removed. It just says appoint somebody a chairman, but there is no vacancy. If you drop into employment law, which I know we'll argue councillors don't drop into employment law, but there's no other basis under common law we can drop into, actually, you cannot advertise a job or replace somebody in a job where there is no vacancy. There is nothing in this motion that has moved a vacancy. Therefore, the current chairman is still sat. It's a flawed motion. We could quote Rainy Sky and others versus Coopmin Bank. We're actually in moot point 2.7.4 and 2.7.5 of our constitution, which is actually the executive point. But my biggest concern, actually, when we look at this is, if you look at any legal document, you have to use it in the context it was designed to do. Rule 8.4 is the instrument or the mechanism within the constitution to remove a chairman from a committee. That instrument has been jumped over to go to its final point. You do not go to the final point in any legal construct until you've explored every instrument. The instrument that is designed within the Constitution to do this has not been explored. Now, the 6 councillors that sit here as the independent group walked away from the Conservative group on the 8th of August. We're aware the Conservative group decided to try on the 27th of September to exchange the chairman, to which I put a legal argument to the Chief Executive and was proved correct. So we've approached this from a different way, where 5 members sign a piece of paper to actually appoint a new chair that hasn't removed the previous chair. But they've gone to the end degree without going through the instruments that are available. Now, under any contract of law, the first thing in any appeal that will be asked was every instrument in the right order used first to arrive at the end goal. What we've got to remember in law is, you've got to ask, not just is it just, is are you seen as being just? This is a purely political stab in the back of 2 hard-working chairmen that we're going to see this evening. It's pure and simple. Councillor Rosie Claymore was the mayor that took this town through the pandemic. She was the face of this town and the face of this council. She deserves better than what she's getting this evening because she decided she couldn't follow the mess that Chris Pincher left this town in. It is an absolute travesty this evening, Madam Mayor, what we're witnessing. And this is taking a lot for me to say, Madam Mayor, and I'm struggling to say it, but I'm going to say it. Only a couple of months ago, I sat in the chair where Councillor John Harper sits. I'd just become leader of the opposition, and I declared to this chamber I couldn't sit in the Deputy Mayor's chair and play politics. The office of the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor is too important to play politics, and I stood down as Deputy Leader. I had people around me at the time who said, "You're absolutely mad. Imagine the bombs you could throw from the Deputy Mayor's chair." And I said, that isn't right. It isn't fair. I don't think the Mayor and Deputy Mayor should be involved in politics in this chamber. To see the Mayor and Deputy Mayor actually sign political motions to come to full council gives me great sadness, and I hope you can both reflect on that. And that's as far as I go on that statement. This motion is flawed, Madam Mayor. It is victimising two councillors that do not deserve it. It does not state the actual purpose of the motion because it does not remove the previous chair, and I ask members to support me in saying the motion is flawed. The Conservative group can deliver this any time they want. Just deliver Rule on 8.4. I can't even argue with it. It's set out in black and white. But I'll continue to argue while they haven't got the intelligence to use the right instruments, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Councillor Cook. You obviously know an awful lot more about this than I do. I can only take advice from this side that said that it is implicit in this wording that the present chairman are not in position. It's implicit. And we have got legal advice, and that's as far as I can say on this matter. I appreciate your vast knowledge on these things, I do, but I have to go by the legal advice that I'm given. Do you wish to respond? No. Does anybody else wish to say anything? Councillor Claymore?
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. Before I start giving my views on this motion, what I'm going to say does not in any way reflect on the ability of the proposed chair, Councillor Maycock, who I believe has the knowledge and commitment to make an excellent chair of Health and Wellbeing Committee. He has been a supportive deputy chair during my chairmanship, and I hope he agrees that we have been a good team. Madam Mayor, I realise that whatever I say this evening will not change the views of members sitting opposite, as I have sufficient experience of being part of that group to know they will stick together when it comes to the vote. I'm not surprised that the controlling group have sought to remove myself as chair, even though, as I see it, and Councillor Danny Cook has pointed out, there is no vacancy. When speaking to a member of the Conservative group about this motion last week, I should say, Madam Mayor, that was you yourself. You advised me that one of the reasons why this motion is being proposed is because the controlling group have always held the chair positions of Tamworth Borough Council. This I believe to be correct. The controlling groups usually take the chair positions, but does that make it right, I ask? Madam Mayor, they see it as spoils of war, which say everything about some of the egos in this room tonight. It was also put to me by yourself, Madam Mayor, that this action is a consequence of me leaving the Conservative group. So is this a game of consequences? Madam Mayor, I note that both yourself and the Deputy Mayor have signed the motion before us tonight. Whilst I believe there is nothing in the Constitution preventing the Mayor from signing a motion, I believe it is clearly an indication of taking a political stance. This somewhat moves away from the Mayor remaining non-political in chairing council meetings, something that I am well versed with, having served as the Mayor during the COVID pandemic, where I chaired many full council meetings through online meetings with no physical support during very difficult circumstances. This leads me on to one of the many reasons why I took the decision to leave the Conservative group. in June this year. If the residents of Tamworth are to be represented to the best of our ability, it is crucial that this council are open to looking at different ways of doing things. My personal priority is to ensure that the best way to achieve true representation is to put the people, that is the residents of Tamworth, before politics. It became very difficult to do this whilst a member of the Conservative group, who made it impossible to do the right thing instead of the political thing. When you believe that your opinion is not being taken seriously, it's your duty to stand up and be counted. I don't have any fancy political words of wisdom like some of the members in this room tonight, but what I do know without any doubt is that the residents we represent deserve a council that listens to all opinions and does not stifle debate just because it's uncomfortable, or indeed be silent in some instances. I will close by thanking all the members of the Health and Wellbeing that have been on the committee with me for the last 18 months. I've had the pleasure of working with you all during my time as chair, and all officers for their willingness to work with the committee. A special mention, if I may, Madam Mayor, to Joe Hutchinson, who has been my steady support officer throughout my term. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Does anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This motion and the next are not here because they will change the lives of residents within Tamworth, nor make the workings of Tamworth Borough Council more efficient or save us money or enhance our offer to the outside world. They are here purely and simply because the controlling Conservative group want all the proverbial prizes to themselves. This is the same Conservative group who voted for a motion at the last meeting we had that said all the chairs were doing a good job. So they've accepted, Madam Mayor, that all the chairs were doing well, but tonight they're trying to add new chairs to 2 new committees, not because they were doing bad jobs, but because they do not wear a blue rosette anymore. As the journalist Sebastian Fawkes from the Financial Times said on the BBC Breakfast yesterday, while promoting his new book on the downfall of Boris Johnson, apparently it was the 3 Ps for anyone that's interested: Partygate, Owen Paterson and Chris Pincher. There are only 2 things the Conservative Party cares about: winning the next election and staying in power. Clearly it's true. Only 1 member of the committee has signed this motion. I'll come to who in a minute. But I wonder why it's other members of the council who have done so. Is it because the rest of the committee are happy with her performance and happy with the vice chairman too? Now, to the 1 member of the committee who has signed it, and that is yourself, Madam Mayor. But as you've missed all the meetings to date, including one due to mayoral function, so I will let you off that one, I suppose you can't really comment about the capabilities of the chair or the vice chair beyond what party they stand for. As you yourself told Councillor Claymore the other evening, there would be consequences for our actions, and this is it. I'm just really glad, Madam Mayor, that you didn't choose to jump ship with us when you met us at our first 2 group meetings, when you, like us, were so incredibly unhappy with the actions of your group leaders. Because you said at the time you feared they'd do the same to you. Although I'd still ask, would they have done the same if to touch a sitting mayor? I guess we'll never know. Although I do remember at the time you decided not to, after discussions with your family and not wanting to detract from the morality and the wonderful things you plan to do with it, which you're doing. I honestly believe that you're a really good mayor, and like Councillor Claymore when she sat in the hot seat during the COVID crisis, have held the position with grace and authority. However, the fact that you and your deputy have decided to use your positions this evening to sign these motions, I believe that you have tainted your positions and your authority. We all know in a casting vote you support, I would imagine, your group, but did the person asking you to sign a piece of paper really have no one else they could ask? I'd love to ask why Councillor Cooper proposed to all the chairmen to this council back in May and then voted for the vote of thanks in September, but has now signed both motions to remove the chairs, and tonight the person who has proposed this item and seconded it effectively secure your own promotions. I've heard about killing your own dinner. I didn't expect to see it from councillors. I then turned to the fact that this council does all its votes for chairman in May. I don't think it's appropriate now for a cabinet member to interfere with scrutiny, especially when the Constitution has the ability for the committee to remove its own chair. Is the cabinet so scared now of the abilities of the opposition councillors to hold them to account that they need to make sure their wishes are met? As one of the councillors listed on both motions shouted down Market Street to his leader a few weeks ago, and I'm sure you don't mind me kind of admitting one of the words, as I don't like swearing in public. Last full council was a measuring competition of the male anatomy, and you lost. Councillors, this motion and the next one is one of those opportunities for you to do the right thing, to go home tonight and look in the mirror when you brush your teeth and vote against it, to put your energies into things that actually matter: homelessness, vulnerable people, which we agreed last time that was our priority, how we meet our climate change commitments, and how people feed their children and heat their homes, and things that actually fix our own economic shortfalls. I think very few people would genuinely care about who chairs a committee, but from the conversations that I've been having with my constituents, they care about things that the Conservatives are failing on nationally, and putting local Conservatives on the ballot papers is unlikely to save your skins. If you continue to demonstrate, you're just as bad as looking the other way as your leaders. Especially as you've technically voted this evening, or declined to vote this evening, to say that Chris Pincher is not fit for his role. So you've said that he's fit for his role, but you're saying now that Councillor Claymore and Councillor Benprice, one would assume in a few minutes' time, is not fit. I'd love to see what the public think in terms of their questions of your logic on that. Vote against this motion and let Councillor Claymore, and later on Councillor Price, to do the things that they've been elected to do, and start putting Tamworth first. Start putting politics ahead of people. And actually, hold your heads up in the morning that you didn't do something because certain individuals that are either missing or sitting up there told you to. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor People.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When the legislation was put in place for councils to adopt a cabinet system, in my opinion, there should have been legislation written in that scrutiny committees should always be chaired by members of the opposition. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and throughout certainly my time on Tamworth Borough Council, and I know my husband's time on Tamworth Borough Council, it's always been the case that the controlling group has appointed committee chairs. I think that's a great shame. I think there's a lot to be said for having proper scrutiny by members of the opposition. However, I will be abstaining on this vote, as the whole situation seems to have come about by the fact that some of the Conservative members decided to leave the Conservative group. I don't think that's our fight, and therefore I shan't be voting one way or the other. But I think it's a great opportunity missed. Scrutiny would be so much better if members of the opposition were given the opportunity to actually get involved as chairs and vice chairs. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to add to the debate? Councillor Thurgood.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The whole thing that I find truly amazing about this fight, and it is a fight, is that you're talking, we've completed 6 months and we've got 6 months left to run. Comes May, when they've got the majority, they can do what they like. Why are they doing this now? It is purely spitefulness, in my opinion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thurgood. Councillor Wade.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When I look at it, Councillor Claymore was good enough when she was a councillor, a Conservative councillor. She's independent. She should be good enough now. What's she done wrong? I ask you that question. What has she actually done wrong in what role she was given as a chairman? Answer it. What's she done wrong?
Thank you, Councillor Wade. Does anybody else wish to add to the debate? No? Right. Okay. Councillor Maycock, do you wish to say anything before we go to the vote?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to go back to my previous comment, this isn't personal. Thank you.
So, all in favour that Daniel Maycock is appointed Chair of the Health and Wellbeing Scrutiny Committee? All in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? 3. That motion is carried. Daniel Maycock is now the Chairman of Health and Wellbeing. Item number 6 on the agenda is to consider the following motion, notice of which has been duly given in accordance with Procedure Rule 4.12.1, Part 4, by Councillors Cooper, Ford, Farrell, Maycock, Goodall and Greatorex. Councillor Cooper, do you wish to speak first?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just move as read, please. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Maycock, thank you. Thank you. Questions now, please. Anybody want to start off? Thank you, Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before I continue, can I just put on record, Madam Mayor, I have an awful lot of respect for Councillor Andy Cooper. I consider him a friend. I consider him an incredibly able councillor. To see the work he does on audit and governance is spectacular. And if I was somebody who I consider qualified to look around this room tonight as somebody who's got the potential to be a future cabinet member, a future leader of this council, I certainly put Councillor Cooper on that list. If Councillor Cooper thinks I'm going a bit over the top on him very shortly, it's not intentional. As Councillor Merkel said, it's not personal, so don't take it personally. You know you have my full respect. This is about the matter before us. If I can just clarify that, Madam Mayor. Thank you. My question to Councillor Cooper as he moved the motion. The first meeting of licensing this year was on the 23rd of June. Can Councillor Cooper tell us what was on the agenda, please?
No, as I didn't attend, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's a good clarification. The second meeting of licensing this year, Madam Mayor, was on the 13th of October. Can Councillor Cooper tell us what happened at that meeting?
Thank you. Councillor Cooper.
Again, no, I didn't attend, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Madam. I've got one. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Third question. Obviously, Councillor Cooper failed to attend the first two. We all have work commitments, etc., understood. So obviously, the third meeting of licensing this year was on the 23rd of November. Can Councillor Cooper tell us what was on the agenda?
Madam Mayor, no, I didn't attend. Essentially, I've had a lot of backlog from holidays from COVID, and we all deserve a family holiday. I had a family holiday for the last two licensing committees. The previous one mentioned, I don't believe that I was a part of the licensing committee then. I might be wrong, but it's certainly the case that the last two, actually, I was taking family holidays that had been backed up from COVID.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper. Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, not personal. Councillor Cooper, can you confirm if you sat on the licensing committee last year? I know you were first elected in May 2021. Did you sit on licensing last year?
Mr. Cooper.
No, I didn't, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we've established so far that Councillor Cooper didn't sit on licensing in his first year on the council. Of the 3 meetings of licensing this year, he has not attended one. So what we've established so far is the Conservative group are proposing... It is, I'm getting there. The Conservative group are proposing a chairman that's never, ever sat on licensing. Can I ask Councillor Cooper, if he was in his work environment right now looking to employ somebody, would you give him the job?
Councillor Cooper.
Yes, because as Councillor Cook put it earlier, I'm a good councillor.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? Councillor Cook? Not to worry. Okay, we go to debate now. Who would like to start? Councillor Cook?
I just put on record my same legal argument as last time, but to be debated at another time, Madam Mayor. As I've just demonstrated, Madam Mayor, and again, full respect to Councillor Cooper, however, we have a situation here in front of us where this is the question this council asked tonight. You vote for the motion, Councillor Cooper becomes the chairman of licensing. You vote against the motion, Councillor Ben Price remains the chair of licensing. That's the question we have this evening, so at the moment, as I understand it. So here we go. Councillor Ben Price chaired licensing for 1.5 years on his first stint on this council between 2007 and 2011. Upon his re-election in May 2018, he was instantly re-elected chairman of licensing, a position he has held for consecutively 4.5 years, tackling every piece of legislation, every piece of agenda, with dignity, with pride and professionalism. He has over 10 years' experience managing in the licensing sector personally. He is a highly qualified, highly gifted, highly respected chairman of licensing. And the Conservative group opposite this evening are offering up a chairman who's never attended a single licensing meeting in his life. If that doesn't sum up the problem on this council and why we've got so many problems right now, Madam Mayor, I am not sure what does. That is the tragedy of this evening. It's an ill thought out motion where, as per typical, I'll give Councillor Oates some credit. He's better than this. I suspect another member of the controlling group has pulled this together very fast and not thought it through at all or done any research. It's a poor motion, it makes no logical sense, and anybody watching from the public that compares those two CVs must be sat there pulling their hair out thinking this is something that we should do. If this doesn't sum up the problem in this council at the minute, Madam Mayor, I surely don't know what does. I move the motion be struck down, Madam Mayor. Not as a motion, I'm just saying it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Price indicated he wanted to speak.
Did you want to speak, Councillor Price?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've got nothing to actually add on the motion, but I would just like to, assuming the vote goes the way that I expect it to, I think it's pretty inevitable. I would just like to offer my congratulations and full support to Councillor Cooper. I'm sure he'll make a great chairman of licensing going forward. I know that will be the case because I know that the officers that he will have supporting him will give him all the information and support that he needs. And I'd just like to have it on record, my thanks to the officers and all members of the committee, past and present. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Price. Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I could happily repeat much of what has already been said or what I said earlier tonight, but I won't. I will keep it relatively short and sweet. The fact that the Conservative leadership are putting you guys in a position like this tonight to elect somebody that has never sat on the committee, again, really like you as an individual, Andy, but it is embarrassing. It is embarrassing to this town. So tonight, what we've concluded is you're happy to get people to sign a motion to get rid of one chair who's never sat on the committee or never attended a meeting. You've got someone else that's never actually attended a meeting. You're getting the kind of the main beneficiaries to propose and second it. And in my history of like 12 years on this council, that's never ever happened. You voted effectively in your silence to say that Chris Pincher is a fit and proper individual. It's an actual embarrassment. I'm absolutely delighted that I'm no longer a member of your group, and I think you should all hang your heads in shame. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to add to the debate? Councillor Cooper, would you like to sum up, please?
Yeah, I'll work the hardest. As Councillor Cook put earlier, I'm good in committee meetings. His words, I'm an excellent councillor, and I will use my knowledge from working in my career to help bring a fresh set of eyes to the licensing committee, and I thank Councillor Ben Price for his support as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, we're going to go to the vote now. So, all in favour of Councillor Andrew Cooper being appointed Chair of Licensing Committee? Against? Abstentions? That is carried, and Councillor Andrew Cooper is now appointed Chair of Licensing Committee. We come on to the final item on the agenda tonight, item 7, to consider the following motion, notice of which has been duly given in accordance with procedure rule number 4.12.1, part 4, by Councillors Robert Pritchard, Chris Cook, Richard Ford, Andrew Cooper, Tina Clements, Thomas Jay and Alex Farrell. Yes, Councillor Pritchard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll move the motion as on the agenda.
You seconding the motion? Thank you. There are no questions here. Right, who would like to start off with a question? No? We'll go straight to debate then. Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move an amendment to the motion and reserve the right. Myself and Councillor Sheree People and councillors along this side of the bench have had long discussions about this motion. We have real concerns about it. Yesterday I contacted the leader of the council, Councillor Jeremy Oates, on behalf of myself and Councillor People to discuss how this motion can be tabled in a way that is more palatable. I spoke to Councillor Oates yesterday, who said he would get back to me around 2:30. I've still not heard from him, but as we discovered this evening, he's ill. So I thought I'd actually amend the motion this evening in the hope to gain support. We actually state that Tamworth Borough Council write to the Home Office stating our belief that the Holiday Inn in Tamworth is not, from the point of view of their own health and well-being, an ideal location for placing those seeking asylum. And while we agree this location is not ideal, in the absence of a better solution, while our town is hosting those seeking asylum with a range of medical and other needs, Tamworth Borough Council will commit to helping wherever required and supporting local voluntary groups who are offering a wide range of assistance. I hope for a second for that amendment, Madam Mayor.
Councillor People.
Mayor, I second and reserve the right.
Thank you.
Take a vote to this amendment,
Yeah.
to accept this amendment for debate.
We take a vote to debate this amendment. All in favour?
6, 7, 8, 9. 9. Against.
Against?
2, 4, 5. 15.
Any abstention?
2. So that motion is defeated.
That motion is defeated. That amendment to the motion is defeated. We're back to the substantive motion, and we will start off with debate again. Does anybody wish to contribute? Yes, Councillor.
So just to clarify, the amendment to the motion has been rejected. Amendment where we tried to, as I said earlier, not make this political, but to seek consensus. I am in the firm belief, knowing everyone on the other side of this chamber, that this motion was put forward with good intentions and that idea of support and care. And there may be a slight different focus, perhaps on people in our own town, the workers in the hotels, those who do the tourist industry. We've mentioned a lot tonight about vulnerability, the cost of living crisis. I believe that was the focus here, and that was why when we had the discussion on changing the motion, it's that wording where we begin by saying, we believe, we all agree that a hotel is not suitable accommodation, be it in Tamworth, be it anywhere, thinking about the town, thinking about our residents and workers in the town, as well as the vulnerable. I come here tonight as someone who has visited the hotel, and I know there are guests here who have done the same, as well as people in this room. And I would just like to extend a warm welcome if any of the other councillors would like to join us there, you'd be extremely welcome. We are all currently Tamworthians, and in the hotel we can offer you games nights, we can offer you delicious food. There are lessons that are going to go on for English, a lot of eloquent speakers in this room, I'm sure we can all agree. And to say that I know that whatever happens with this motion more unites us than divides us, and if there were any change of hearts, maybe that could happen here. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Cooper?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the warm welcome, Councillor Daniels. Can I just clarify a point, though? When you've said it twice now that this isn't political. We're politicians in a political space. Everything you say is political when we're in this room. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper. Councillor Wade?
Where do I start? Went and seen the people at the Holiday Inn, and we all agree it's not best and ideal place. But I'll ask this question. It's a Conservative government policy. They're not going to change their minds. Where are these people supposed to go? And this motion just sums it up to me. Why the residents in Tamworth are so disgruntled and disillusioned with what's going on in Tamworth. The Conservative councillors who brought this motion, they could have brought any other motion, 101 motions, a motion of the cost of living, a fuel poverty motion, a living crisis motion, a homeless motion, a flooding motion that's going to actually have good impact on our residents of Tamworth. And they bring this motion, and it's a reckless motion in my eyes, because it will just bring more divide, more division, more racism and more hatred to them people in the Holiday Inn. And like I said, I went there, I spent hours there today. In that place they have biotechnics, there's footballers, there's artists, there's architects, there's doctors, people in medicine, there's farmers, scientific people, there's computer techniques, there's builders, surgeons, chefs, the list goes on. There's a bunch of talented people there, and it's what this country needs, what we're short of. And they've been tortured, they've been imprisoned, they've been persecuted. I met a young fellow there who had a family. He's seen his mother, may I say it, raped, shot. Seen his daughter, a 9-year-old daughter, raped, shot. And he's bringing this motion. God help them. No wonder we're in crisis in Tamworth. I mean, they do all good things, litter picking at the Arches in Glasgow, in the town centre. The Tamworth Castle have been Meredith Care Home. They're completely revamped now, so the residents can get out and about. Thursday they're going to the Belgrave allotment to revamp that. They're going to the police station to revamp the gardens there. Shannon's Mill, they painted the fence, they fixed the fence. They come here to seek freedom and life. They've been persecuted. And the Snow Dome, I've got to shout out to the Snow Dome, they're most racist towards these people. The security people they had 2 bikes there, the security people have destroyed them bikes. I think we should all get together and replace them bloody 2 bikes for them.
Councillor Wade, could I ask you not to swear, please?
Sorry? As a grandfather of a grandchild of a race descent, I just find this absolutely sickening, this motion. It sickens me to the stomach, because they could have brought anything more to impact the residents in Tamworth, fuel poverty and everything, and they bring this motion. like I said, it just brings more divide and division. And there's enough of that in the world, then have it more in Tamworth. I mean, there's a lad there, he cries at night, he has mental health, and we're not doing anything to get more doctors into that place for him, to seek more mental health. He cries at night, with depression, asking, is he going to get stoned tomorrow? What sort of person? I dread to think what goes through his head. There's an amputee there. There's a diabetics pandemic in that place, and we should get more assistants, doctors and that there for them. We should do more for them and not be debating whether it's the right place. It's a government policy, not going to change their mind. While they're here, we should welcome them, show them compassion, and do whatever we can to help them people in the Holiday Inn. Should do. And not bring a motion like this here, whether it's the right place or the wrong place. We know it's not the exact right place, but it's a government motion, and it's their government that's brought them to Tamworth in the Holiday Inn, and they're not going to change their fingers. But while they're here, we should show them compassion, respect them as individuals and human beings, and it's just reckless motion.
Councillor Wade. Councillor Danny Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Councillor Wade stole a lot of my thunder, and he spoke with such passion there. It's difficult to follow that. I think that is the archetypal definition of a difficult act to follow. Myself and Councillor Cherie People obviously tried to communicate with the leader of the council yesterday. For whatever reason, not having a go, that just hasn't quite worked. We've tried this evening. I just want to overall sum up this evening where we've got to so far, and this is the tragedy. Got the controlling group have thrown their full trust behind Mr Pincher again. They've now had two hard-working chairmen, one of them gave a speech, and tonight, when asked to support some of the most vulnerable people you will ever meet in your life, utter rejection. Without thought, without speech, utter rejection. As Councillor Wade has said, now the majority of the councillors down this side of the room have taken the time to go to the Holiday Inn and understand the problem for themselves. As far as I'm concerned, and I'm happy to be shouted down for this one, only Councillor Maycock has been from the Conservative bench. I take that back, Councillor Clements. There's the startling realisation of what we're talking about. You're throwing grenades at a problem you don't understand. I'll add one to, and I had permission from the individuals, I'm going to, not named, but quote, on their stories. There is one individual down there who at 17 had his mother raped in front of him, and then his father was shot, and he fled the country for freedom, safety and a better life. To have the Conservatives say, not welcome here. There's another lad in there who refuses to leave his room, day or night, because he fled, because he was a Christian from a different culture, because he was being persecuted and threatened with death. Upon fleeing the country, his brother was shot in the head in the town square. It was videoed and posted to him on his phone. That is what we're talking about, is in the Holiday Inn. We have amputees. We have daily runs from doctors to treat war wounds and bullet wounds. This is not economic migrants we are talking about this evening. The motion we offered you early was a nice motion to say, we all agree the Holiday Inn is not ideal, but there isn't another solution at the minute. We can all throw bombs at government, whether they were right, whether they were wrong, whether Brexit hasn't thrown this bomb. It doesn't matter. We are where we are. The government needed a solution. The Holiday Inn offers itself up, and we have some incredibly vulnerable people currently in the Holiday Inn who have suffered things we cannot imagine in our beautiful white society. And where has our compassion gone? I remember in 2015, Madam Mayor, when I signed the document to welcome 10 Syrian families fleeing war-torn Syria. Should we call it the racist element of Tamworth, whipped up a storm and organised a protest in the castle grounds. Well, decent-hearted people in Tamworth organised a counter-protest. There was 11 people in what I would call the racist protest. There was 230 Tamworthians who stood in front of them and said, not in our town. What I'm watching currently is the Conservative group opposite play to the masses, play to that fear. This is how you win elections, Madam Mayor. It's this easy. You point to a time long gone where things were better and everybody had it easier and everybody talks about family and everybody loved their neighbours, and then you point at some minority and say it's all their fault. That's how elections are won, Madam Mayor. It stinks. This evening you were offered the opportunity to show what decent human beings you are, and you just threw it away without a speech, without a thought. The level of suffering that's going on, or suffering that has on, to get to the Holiday Inn, the risks these young men have taken to get to this country to create something better for their families. We need to embrace it and actually give them our love, our care, and show them what Tamworth is about, what a free Christian society should be doing. Instead, we're writing to the Home Office to say, actually, our tourism's down, something we can't quantify. It takes the Destination Management Partnership in Staffordshire a year and a half to quantify economic and tourism benefits to Tamworth. How did you know in 3 weeks? I want to know. How did you quantify it? You can't. Is there an effect? We don't know. Is there a potential effect? We don't know. So it's an assumption. We know the facts, or do we go with assumptions? We can't go with assumptions. The facts are we need to show these people some compassion, some care, and actually what this council should stand for, decency. I cannot vote for a motion that simply says we can't allow other people in because it's bad for our tourism. What I can follow a motion is say it's the wrong place, but actually while it's happening, let's show them what a decent council and a decent set of councillors we are. And it was spurned this evening. I've never been more ashamed to call myself a Tamworth Borough Councillor. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. Councillor People.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, some of us had our hands up for every time we've looked over that way, just to let you know.
Councillor Jay, I'm sure you'll get your turn. Madam Mayor, I'm looking at this motion. As an important hotel to the town's tourist economy, the council requests the Home Office do not use Tamworth Holiday Inn Express to house asylum seekers. I don't see a grain of compassion in that motion. It's purely about economics. I think Councillor Cook has already spoken extremely eloquently, and I don't need to repeat the things that he said. The proposed amendment was to say, along the lines of, we agree with you that hotels are not the best place to put asylum seekers, but not because of concerns about the tourist economy, because of concerns about those individual human beings who, as Councillor Cook has said, have gone through things that we can't even imagine. Can you imagine seeing a relative of yours raped or murdered or tortured in front of you and having to flee that to a completely different country on your own, with no friends, with no support, with no nothing? I can see you all grinning at me because, of course, in your heads, oh, they're all economic migrants, they haven't fled anything. Well, that is not... excuse me, I am speaking, Councillor.
I've been to war-torn countries, thank you. School serving.
Yeah, Councillor Clements, I don't dispute your service. I don't dispute the service of anybody on the opposite side of the room. But what I'm saying is, please don't judge people until you know the facts. We've been speaking to people who are actually dealing with the refugees and asylum seekers face to face on a day-to-day basis, and they've heard those stories. And actually, do you know, whether you believe them or not, if somebody comes to me, if somebody knocks on my door and says, I'm in dire trouble, help me, what am I going to do? Slam the door in their face? No, I would never do that, whoever they were. We need to show some compassion and some human feeling. The government's decision to utilise hotels is, in my view, wholly wrong. They're calling it contingency accommodation. Well, it doesn't seem to be contingency accommodation. In some cases, it seems to be going on for weeks, if not months. I would question the sense of putting people who are suffering from mental health problems, from PTSD, from physical ill health in hotels where they don't necessarily have the support that they need. But we are where we are. I would love to say to government, you've got it wrong, but I very much doubt they'd take any notice of me. But whilst people are here in our town, then what I'm asking, and what councillors on this side of the chamber have already asked, is that we show people support, compassion, humanity. That's all. So don't put forward motions saying, oh, you're too much of an economic drain on our town, which, as Councillor Cook has already said, we've got no evidence for. I'm quite sure that if Holiday Inn and other hotels felt that this wasn't going to be economically in their favour, then they wouldn't have agreed to it in the first place. Let's dial down a bit from that. Let's think about the individuals concerned. Let's think about whether they have needs and whether we can support those needs. Because at the end of the day, that's what we should be about. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Jay's next. Councillor Jay.
Thank you very much. So just to clarify, grinning is just at disbelief at the angle the opposition group have taken this. It was mentioned earlier that this is government policy, so it has no place in here. We could argue the MP is government and has no place in here, right? So you make out that this is a racist motion, right? But you don't know the facts of anyone on this side. The angle is about it being a key tourist hotel, key location, and no comms from the Home Office. It's not about saying they cannot be anywhere else in Tamworth. You're trying to take it down that angle. That's not the case. But sorry, we listened to yours. Sorry. My wife is an immigrant, right? So I'm definitely not racist. I speak another language. I have people look at me strangely when I'm out and about speaking another language. My company, we recruit individuals from some of the poorest countries in the world: Brazil, Zambia, South Africa, Malawi. Bring them and their families legally to the UK. Some of the poorest countries in the world. I personally, in my own time, helped some refugees that have been here with their CVs, building them for the British market. I've personally arranged and delivered gifts and Christmas meals in Brazilian slums at Christmas instead of being here with my family. So to make it out that it's a racist motion is doing exactly what you say we're doing, which is political point scoring. It's not racist, and to try and make out that we're racist, or try and make out that people on this side aren't compassionate, is disgusting in itself. It's a motion about the Holiday Inn being a tourist location, and the Home Office should have consulted about other locations.
As a point of personal information, at no point in anything I said did I mention racism. Thank you.
Yeah, I said the opposition group in general, and it was implied. That was the angle you're trying to make this out. So anyone watching would listen to anything that's said on that side and take the assumption that it's racist, and that's not the case.
Thank you. Does any... Oh, Councillor Wade.
Well, I can't spoke.
Has already
Daniel.
spoken.
No, if you'd like to carry on. Sorry, yeah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, point of personal explanation. If I've at any point accused anyone of racism, I'm not sure I'm going to apologise, but I'll clarify. Okay, I don't think there's any racists in this room, if I want to clarify. One thing I would say as clarification then is, can I invite the Conservative group on their WhatsApp page, their change.org petition, everything, to read some of the hate-filled hate crimes that are on there about immigrants being sent home, bigger sharks to eat them. You should read some of the Facebook comments that dropped from the Conservative Council. Now, they haven't written them, but at no point were they checked or removed or challenged. That is what really gives us pause. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Michelle Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tonight, I think we've seen quite a lot of distraction politics being played, and I'm not going to go any further in terms of this meeting tonight was called by those on the first motion that we debated, and numerous other things have been added. Actually, I hope that the Chris Pincher debate doesn't end up on the front of the Herald. I hope that the motions to remove the chairman don't. I hope this does, because actually out of all of them, these are the ones that have the biggest impact in terms of reputation on our town and being a welcoming place. Is the issue of asylum seekers coming to our town on our residents' lips? Yes. Anyone that looks at the news, anyone that watches what's going on websites, anyone that sees what's happening in terms of the huge numbers of people that for whatever reasons are making their way across into the UK, something has to be done. And I really hope that a letter to the Home Office about a letter also sparks something about the Conservative government actually getting its own immigration policies in place. At some point, let's see if that happens. Is the Holiday Inn the right location for asylum seekers? No, it isn't. It's a hotel. When I was cabinet member for housing, slightly different, I know, and we put people into hotel accommodation or guest house accommodation for weeks and weeks and weeks, as we used to do. It was something that I and Councillor Cook, when he was leader, moved heaven and earth with officers to say that it's not suitable locations for people to be, certainly not long term. When I was doing my research into the Chris Pincher motion earlier, one question he had actually submitted to government in that kind of time that he's been writing lots of questions was, he asked the immigration minister how many people who'd come into the UK when the evacuations were happening from Afghanistan the other week, or the month that we all sat, or was it last year? When we saw all of the kind of the planes evacuating out, there's still over 9,900 people that came that we welcomed into the UK, currently still sitting in hotels, in a place where it's lovely to go for a few days, but it's sure as what's it, not a nice place to be month after month after month, and certainly not years later. And those were people that we welcomed into the UK. We've been really lucky with the Ukraine crisis, which I know that, again, Councillor Hook and Councillor Maycock took times out of their lives away from their families to go and deliver, supported by lots of people in this room in terms of donations and fundraising, etc. And they saw, in the same way as I will, please don't jump back on me on this one, but Councillor Cooper, Councillor Maycock, Councillor Clements have been to war zones. They've seen the disaster that those places are. And actually, we can sit here as what I will describe as community leaders to stand up and educate people, to actually talk to people and actually say, these are the reasons why people are here, this is what we need to do, answer their questions, get the information. You're right, we haven't had that much influence from the Home Office, but if legal challenges from the likes of Stoke Council don't change the position of using hotels, because there is nowhere else for these individuals to go, the likelihood of them listening to Little Tamworth and its issue about having a hotel next to one of our prime tourist attractions and listen to, they're not going to listen. But what we can do is actually answer people's questions. We can support, we can lobby government, but we can do what we can as individuals. And I think this is something that we can do really well if we want to, rather than, as Councillor Cook alluded to, the Conservative Facebook page, where question after question has been answered if it's pro the agenda. If it's not, it's ignored and it's not responded to. So again, that's an active change that you as Conservative councillors can go on and do, and push others that have access to that page to do the same. I think, most importantly, is it a suitable location? No, it's not. But what it is a starting point, and we need to look at how we deal with the bigger issue far, far better than we have historically. And that will be my last contribution of this evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Doyle.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've heard a lot of emotion in this chamber tonight, especially from the other side. I do think you're actually confusing immigration with the use of the hotel. I actually stand before you as the son of an economic migrant. My father's from Ireland. He came here many years ago and made a life, and many of his family have followed. When you say that we should be out there educating people, we already are. If you look at the work that I've done through my Facebook and community, I actually put out positive messages about immigration. It's surprising actually how many people don't understand why we have immigration in the first place. Unfortunately, humanity doesn't learn, and we continue to have genocides and wars and what have you, and people come into this country. I do find it a bit much that I'm being lectured tonight, and this is one of the reasons why I've chosen to speak, because we do have those views over here. We do support people that are fleeing war zones and had atrocities committed. I've had personal experiences where I've had to, in my day job, where I've had to look after people that have come in from Bosnia. And I chatted to one lad, he'd been all the way around Europe, Germany, France, various other countries, and he'd been witness to some atrocities. He actually wanted to go back to Bosnia. He absolutely loved it. He says it was beautiful of a winter, but he couldn't go back because his next door neighbour had picked a gun up and blew the brains out of his other neighbour. So there was no way he could ever go back. And at the time, I really felt for him. And he's made a life here. Myself and Councillor Farrell and Councillor Pritchard, we've dealt with a number of residents that raised concerns. We've tried to get them to see the bigger picture. We've explained immigration to them and why these people are here. There are some economic migrants amongst them, but there's also some very genuine cases that you've highlighted. Unfortunately, people can't tell the difference. And we've, gone to great lengths, I think a couple of weeks back, where we spent a good few hours answering residents' questions and trying to dispel some of the myths. A lot of them seem to think that they come to this country, get given loads of money, wear designer clothes and all that sort of stuff. But it's actually far from the truth. Many of the clothes they're actually wearing are donated. And it just happens that a lot of them, we tend to wear an awful lot of branded goods. So I do think you're confusing the issue, and the use of the hotel isn't the best place for them. And if you want to argue about where they should be, that's fair enough. But please put the immigration ticket to one side. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Doyle. Does anybody else wish to contribute? Oh, Councillor Ordrop.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think, obviously I've heard all the debates tonight, but I've been doing a bit of research myself the last few days, and I think that as a council we should look to resolve to request an urgent meeting with ministers to discuss how they can work in genuine partnership with local authorities to reform the asylum system. Also, we could join our neighbours in Lichfield, Coventry, Birmingham, the West Midlands, Walsall, with the City of Sanctuary movement to ensure that we provide genuine welcome support to those fleeing oppression, hatred and war. Because it doesn't just come down to us, this goes out to the wider public and it causes a knock-on, a sort of chain reaction. And also, we could join the Lift the Ban coalition, calling on the government to reform the asylum system so those awaiting decisions on their claim can play a full part in the economy and the community, because they're paid about £5.82 a day, which is nothing in the grand scheme of things. Also, Asylum Matters, they've done quite a lot of work in relation to asylum seekers. So regarding asylum accommodation, a year ago they released a report on the impact of living in institutional accommodation, such as hotels. It's called In a Place Like Prison, Voices from Institutional Asylum Accommodation. They've done a lot of work on asylum seekers and asylum accommodation and advice and guidance in the contracts. When they were first awarded, and last week they did publish a briefing to all MPs, which gives a good overview of the current situation and what their recommendations are. If anybody would like me to send anything forward that to you, then I can do, because there's a lot of research already being done. And I think as councillors, we're supposed to be the upstanding citizens in this community and supporting. And yes, I do agree. As I said here, hotels aren't the best use of, for asylum seekers, because they've already fled oppression, living in a room on your own, 24 hours a day, but it's like being not allowed to, they can't go far, they have to be escorted. So I think as a council we need to get our heads together and we need to do something for, the people in the community, which also spills out, we've also got vulnerable people in the community aside from that, so we need to be unified in what we're saying and not tearing each other apart. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
What he did. Carry on.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, what Councillor Cooper said about it is a political cauldron within here, I would say we're all individuals. We've all been elected to do the best we can for our residents. And when I come in here, I don't come in here as independent party or Conservative or Labour. I come as a resident of Tamworth, which can't be said for everybody in this room, even though it should be, but I come as an individual that listens to what's been said. I've been over to the hotel, I've met those people. I'm sure you've both seen atrocities occurring over in Afghanistan, and I really feel for you. In terms of Councillor Pritchard, he's put that Facebook petition on there, or signed the petition. I'm very saddened that he hasn't moderated the comments. Go in, answer the mistruths that are going on in there. You've got people from other parts of the country. You've got people that actually were members of a group which wanted to know who had voted for the motion, and they would remember it. Where were these people from? I've even found links to Ukraine websites, which, not saying they are Ukrainian, they could be hacked Russian, they could be anywhere, but the hate, it's pure bile. And as a community, as councillors, yeah, the more we can do for these people, the better. True, a lot of our residents aren't happy, and I agree the hotel situation isn't perfect, but for goodness sake, let's try and do the most we can. Some of you are, some of you probably think, oh, it's a load of rubbish, I don't know. But all I'm saying is from your heart, vote from your heart. Well, in terms of this, the motion isn't anti. Yeah, so vote for the motion, but for goodness sake, show some compassion in your heart. That's all. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor?
Councillor Price.
Carry on.
It's again just to reply to Councillor Cooper, with thanks to Councillor Thurgood. Just to give that example of, I don't think our residents want to hear Conservatives do this, Labour do that. They want to hear what we as civic leaders are doing to support our town, whoever's in it. I'd like to thank Councillor Doyle for the example that he gave, along with Councillor Woodrup, what we can do in our civic positions to make sure that there is clear information out there and everyone is supported. Thank you.
Councillor Price.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The motion before us this evening has opened up quite a lot of emotions, and I've sat and I've listened to what everybody's got to say, and I want to say I know everybody that is sat opposite me. I know the majority of the people quite well that are sat this side. I don't believe anybody in this room is a racist. I don't believe anybody in this room is saying that we don't want asylum seekers in Tamworth. I think the motion as it reads, yes, the hotel is important to the tourist economy. We can all agree that the Holiday Inn is not the best place for asylum seekers. But the thing is, we've all just gone through a pandemic where we've all just come together and we've all just supported each other, and we've supported people that we don't know, neighbours that we've probably not spoken to. I know Councillor Clements did a lot of work where she went to vulnerable people throughout the pandemic, and she supported them by getting their shopping and things like that. The problem is that we put forward a motion this evening which was just asking that the council support the people that have come here, and that motion unfortunately was defeated. And so the question is, you're all sitting there, the ones of you that have spoken tonight, saying that you support the asylum seekers coming to Tamworth, but the problem is the hotel. So my question to you all is, why did you reject the amendment to our motion? Because the thing is, we weren't asking for anything that was really going to have any consequences for any of you. It was going to have consequences for the people that have come to Tamworth. And I think it's a real shame that sometimes when these emotive subjects come up, that we can't put our party politics aside and that we can't all come together to support the people that need help at times like this. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Price. Councillor Maycock?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Price just asked a question or a statement about why some of us voted down. I actually abstained. I abstained because the motion as it was allowed for local charities to take part in any funding to help the asylum seekers. I abstained because I'm a founding member of Tamworth Humanitarian, so that is why I abstained, because I felt that that was an interest, just to clarify that.
Is there any more debate before we go to the vote? Councillor Pritchard, would you like to sum up? No? We'll go straight to the vote then. All in favour of the motion, please raise your hands. All those against? Are there any abstentions? Just one. Okay. That is carried. Oh, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes the business for this extraordinary council meeting. And I'd like to thank you all for your attendance and close the meeting at 16 minutes past 8. Thank you.
Councillors, ladies and gentlemen.